Hey everyone, so by the time you're seeing this, it'll be January 2025, so Happy New Year to you. But I am filming this December 31st, 2024, and I'll be so honest with y'all, we did not hit that 2024 reading goal. That's okay, because guess what? I can look at myself and understand why. I feel like the first half of the year, I really went hard with my reading, and then the second half of the year, I didn't. So this year I just want to be very intentional about how much I read, and even though I am going to up my reading goal, I still feel like it's very realistic. So for 2024 I wanted 50 books. I ended up reading, if I finish my books today, it'll be about 43, 44. Close but not quite there. For 2025 I want to have 100 books for the year, and I've already done the math, so I will need to read about 2 to 3 books a week until the end of the year to meet my goal, and that's very realistic. And I feel like for this year, after about like a year of getting back into reading, I know what I like, what I don't like. And also, since it's been about a year since I've been at school, I did take my gap year. I want to get back into academic reading. So this year's going to be leisure reading, academic reading. This is a good little balance of both. But I really want to focus on a lot of my heavier books. So to me, when I look at like academic texts, I'm mainly looking at like psychology, sociology. But when I look at leisure reading, there's just my like fun reads, and again, you guys know I love mystery, thriller. Oh, that's everything. But then I also want to challenge myself to read things I don't typically like romance. I also don't naturally gravitate towards historical fiction either. So just getting into those things and being able to digest them without feeling kind of like snooze fast. So but I also want to get more into like productivity books, self-help books as well, because I really love those. And towards the end of 2024, I did read a few books like Overcoming Depression, Mind Your Heart, and I really enjoyed those videos. Even though I didn't really necessarily read them for myself, I do feel like at parts like managing stress, having that healthy work-life balance, it hit me. So I really enjoyed reading those. But for 2025, I really want to get into a lot of my series. I have some books I've had for a while, and I just haven't gotten into them yet. So 2 series, as you guys know, I've been sitting on for a while. Or no, 3. I have the FNAF trilogy, the main trilogy. And so I read the first book in October, and then I need to finish these other 2 books. And honestly, I'll probably end up reading these next week. So I have this, and then as you guys know, I want to read The Hunger Games, and I already have the first book out. So I'm going to read these. I know I have this book set out to read next week. I don't know I'm going to finish these. I am still doing that video reading popular books I've never read. So I'm going to read the first book of each main trilogy. Each main series. And then come back and finish each individual series, if that makes sense. And then after that, we have Harry Potter, which I'm not going to grab this whole set. But again, I have the first book set out to read next week. Again, we don't support this author, but hey, she made a good book. Love that for her. Again, we have Five Nights at Freddy's, Hunger Games, and then we have Harry Potter. So those are the main series I want to read. If you didn't know, I got those for my birthday last year, and I've literally just, this year. Last year from when y'all sent, for 2024. I made that complicated for no reason. I got those for my 22nd birthday. And you guys know I've been saying for a while, I don't know why, but when I buy a book, it's just so hard for me to read it, because it's like I want to take my time with it because I spent money on it. Like, I don't want to just read through it. The next series I have the Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows books. Those are part of the Enchantment series, I believe. So these are 2 pretty heavy books. Let me see how big these books are. I don't think I've ever looked. Okay, this one's like 400. This one is about 400. The book is about 400 something pages. So again, can't wait to read this. I do believe this is like romance, fantasy, romanticy, which is not really my typical genre, but I feel like a lot of people I've heard speak well about those, especially people who love romance. So I trust people with their romance recommendations, because I don't really pick out their romance. And then we have Legendborn, which I've been sitting on this for a minute. I only bought the first book of this series, but if I enjoy this book, I will get the sequel. And then, fun fact, the 3rd book, unless they change the date, it actually comes out on my birthday. So if I really, really love it, I will get that 3rd book for my 23rd birthday. Oh my god, I'm gonna be 23! Literally. So if I enjoy this, I will give you guys like a little like review of it. I'm gonna get into all my series. there's this like book series I want to launch, and you guys will see it this year, but I want to make it like fancy, not super fancy, but like definitely like a whole like review and tea, if that makes sense, but like book time. Another series I have, I forgot exactly what this series is called. I want to say Skylander series, but This Could Be Us and Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. Kennedy Ryan's another author that I really want to get into for this year. I hear a lot of her stuff is really good, but like one of those very like heavy writers. Like she talks about like very heavy, deep topics, that's kind of personal things that people really kind of don't like to talk about. So if I really like these books, I will be getting some more of her stuff. I do have another series saved to my Goodreads read later, but I just haven't purchased it yet. But if these eat, I'm gonna rush to get those books. And then, as I was saying, I have a lot of these like self-help books that I've had for a minute, but I've never read. So this first one is called Manage Your Day-to-Day, Build Your Routine, Find Your Focus, and Sharpen Your Creative Mind. Now this might be something that's more relevant to me at the beginning of the year. I have a lot of different hobbies, a lot of different passions, and a lot of times I do get kind of consumed with what I have to do and timelines and deadlines and stuff like that. So I feel like this may help me out. This is a smaller book, but it is very informative, and if I like it, I'll definitely give you guys a good little review on that. The other one is called Good Vibes, Good Life, How Self-Love is the Key to Unlocking Your Greatness. And I just want to say, I love this cover. It's very simple, minimalistic, but like they ate so bad. I forgot exactly what this is about, but again, it's just about, I don't remember exactly what it's about, but I do remember that it relates to just being a better version of you, going through your pain, going through your struggles, and just finding some type of like rainbow at the end of that storm. So for all of my like self-help books and stuff like that, I will be giving a review if I recommend it to you guys. If I don't, lessons that I've learned from them, not spoiling anything, but definitely like letting you guys know, hey, this is worth your money, pick it up, it's a good read. Then I also have a few psychology books that I really want to get into. Like this is something that's been on my TBR since about March, and this is called The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. I love psychology books, but at the same time, I'm very cautious of psychology books because sometimes the books are like very informative, and then sometimes the books are very much, this is my opinion on this matter, blah, blah, blah. So with anything you pick up, especially if it's like social sciences or like religion, whatever it is to be, you have to be very careful of who is putting that out there. But this seems to be very informative. So I look forward to getting into this, whatever my thoughts are on it. If it helps me to heal, or if it helps me to have a better understanding of what trauma is, such as someone who wants to be a clinical I can't talk, especially as someone who wants to be a clinical neuropsychologist. I feel like this would be very informative to not only me, but you guys as well. And then I also have a few spirituality books. So a few years ago, I started my spirituality journey. One of my favorite like spiritualists is like Abraham Hicks, and then it's one lady that I've seen a few of her things. I want to get into her more. Her name is Gabrielle Bernstein. But also, a few years ago, I came across Eckhart Tolle. I'm not as familiar with Eckhart Tolle, but I know some of his teachings. So a few years ago, I got A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose, and then I got The Power of Now. I will say that if you're someone who's like very religious or a-religious, this is not against your beliefs. I feel like when you read material, a good message can come from anywhere. So if a person doesn't necessarily subscribe to what you believe in, because I do feel like, if I remember correctly, I don't think he is religious, but I don't think he's a-religious either. I think he's just more of like an independent studier of higher beings, if that makes sense, or the universe. If it's something that's not in your religion, as long as it's not being disrespectful, it's not weird. Like, you don't have to completely agree with how someone believes, but also just be respectful to what people believe. So anyways, I'm very open-minded, and I can't wait to get into both of these books. And if I recommend them again, I'll let you guys know. One more book I've been sitting on for a long time is Atomic Habits, and I'm actually going to read this week or next week, something like that. But I've had this for a while, and of course this is something that's been very popular for years, but I want to see it for myself. Tiny changes, remarkable results, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. I feel like for me, when I look at a lot of my goals, especially when it comes to like fitness and health, I feel like consistency is my biggest issue. Social media, consistency is my biggest issue. So on the back it says, discover the secret to results that last, packed with evidence-based self-improvement strategies. Atomic Habits will teach you how to design habits that work for you rather than against you. I feel like that's really good for me because a lot of times I do experience burnout and I feel very overwhelmed. A lot of times at my work, I'll go way too hard for like weeks and then I'll just like crash out. So I need something that gives me like a good balance without, it's like without slacking but also not overworking. So, and then there are a few books from like back in the day I want to reread. So as you guys know, I love Jane Eyre. When I say I live by this book, people slept on this book. Look at her. Jane Eyre, she's an unbothered queen. This book is so good. I feel like people don't appreciate it. I also want to read Da Vinci Code, and then I want to reread Origin. Da Vinci Code is something I heard a lot of good reviews about. I do remember really liking Origin, and so if I like these books, I'll be interested in getting the rest of the Robert Langdon series and let you guys know my thoughts on that. I'm all into series this year. This is also a series, but I only got the first book. This is Dune, and Dune is something that's been around since like the 50s. Look how thick this book is. This book is, oh my gosh. For this particular version, this is about 700, almost 800 pages. Love that for me. And it's also a very beautiful cover, beautiful spine. If I enjoyed this, I will get the rest of the series. I can't wait though. And if I like it, this is one of those books that has a movie to go with it. I do believe they are the same. If not, let me know. But I cannot wait to read this and see what the hype is about and kind of understand the universe a little bit more. And then you guys can't really see it, but I have a whole bunch of books for Book of the Month. I got my first Book of the Month book in April of last year. And I was going to do a video from like my first book or my first 3 books, but things just didn't work out that way. So I think I'm going to wait until April. So I'm going to have my April, May, June, July, blah, 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 all the way till this April. And just give you guys a full year of this is Book of the Month for me. This is how I felt about it. Some months I got multiple books, like 2 or 3 books. So yeah, just let you guys know all about my experience, what I recommend it, which so far, yes, I do recommend it, even though I haven't even read any of my books. But I feel like having something that's so simple where you can be exposed to different types of books, different types of authors, pretty covers, but I don't know, just something that's just different about Book of the Month. And then I think one thing about women especially, we like having like a little gift waiting for us in the mail. So I think having that big old blue box, you can see one of them right here, I think that's just like fun for us. Like I can't explain it. And then I don't know if you guys can see, but give me a minute. I love that. I just got my blue box sitting right there. I have a whole second stack of books behind this stack, and I have a whole bunch of library books, and I'll probably insert like a small clip right here. I went to the library a few months ago and they were like doing this book drive, so I donated, and then I also got a whole bunch of books. So I'm gonna have a whole bunch of books I've never heard of, never read before, blah 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 type of books. But additionally, I have a few books that like I own. They're not completely random like those library books, but like, so like these books, I got these from Kroger. We have like a Kroger superstore in our area now, and I got this book called Identity by Nora Roberts. Pretty cover, I love that, but I hate the big old sticker on the front. I hate when places put stickers on the front like that. Like put it on the back at least, because like you have all this space, but you want to put it right here on the title, because if I try to rip it off, it's gonna probably tear that cover. But I don't even remember what this was about, but it looked interesting enough for me to get into this. And then Daylight by David Baldacci, love that. And then The Born Sacrifice by Robert Lundum, and I believe this is a series, but like, you know, some books, like if it's like an action or like a mystery type of thing, a series doesn't necessarily have to be continuous. So I believe that that's what this is. But all of these books were $6, and all of them are a pretty good size. Like I believe these two are like 300 something pages, and I believe this one's like 400 something pages, so that's definitely worth the money. And then again, there are a few books that I own, but I just have never gotten around to reading, so hold on. So the first book I got is called Sang Unburied Sang. I was supposed to be in this English class, but then they last minute switched me, so I'd already bought the book for it. From what I understand, this author, Jesmyn Ward, she is like a historical fiction type of girly, and she often talks about like racial struggles, historical elements, stuff like that. So I don't know exactly what this one's about, but I do believe it's like ghost story, historical fiction, some type of like, let me look a little bit. It's in Mississippi, historical fiction, so you should already know. what that's gonna be about. But I've had this for about 3 years, almost 4 years, and I've never touched it. So it's something I definitely want to read. I'll probably read this month. Yeah, I'll probably read it this month. And then this book's called The Happiness Project. So I actually got this book around the same time. A former professor gave it to me. But again, I think this book's about this lady going through it, figuring herself out, getting it together. And honestly, love that for her. Yes, queen. I've had it for a while and just never gotten into it. But I hope that this is a very, like, I can relate to her type of book. I can understand her struggles type of book. And then this book I actually got a few months ago from Dollar Tree. And it's called The First to Lie. And it's a pretty good sized book. It's 300, almost 350 pages, which is right up my alley. But this is like a mystery thriller type of book. And you guys know that's up my alley. So again, even books that like I've had for a while, been sitting on, I picked out, I want to read this year. Outside of that, the only other books I really want this year, oh my god, I have so many, but I feel like a lot of them are like recommended from like my favorite booktubers. I know that there was this book going around and it was like some type of thriller book, but it's something like The First Lie Wins or something like that. Hold up, y'all. I'm going on Goodreads now. Goodreads. To read. Goodreads. To read. Ooh, one book that I've been wanting to read. This has mixed reviews, but I feel like I've mainly heard positive reviews at first, but then it kind of became negative at some point. So what's the tea on that? Yellowface. Now that's something that I will buy. I want to get into ACOTAR, and a lot of people are like, ACOTAR, I guess it isn't bad, but it's very mid, especially compared to, what's it called, the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas. So I want to read both of those, but I want to read the Throne of Glass second. I'm going to read ACOTAR first, then Throne of Glass, because I heard Throne of Glass just eats. I actually found out about Throne of Glass through these YouTubers named Brooklyn and Bailey. So I trust that they know what we're talking about. Ooh, and then Frida McFadden. I've read a few of her books this year, but I want to get into a lot of her things, especially like The Housemaid. I've heard of that. I know it's like a trilogy now. I don't know if it's the end of the series or if she's going to have more books of that, but yes. And then The Midnight Library. That's something that I almost bought a few months ago. I'm like, I heard it's like a good book, but then some parts it may be a little too deep, but I like it. Butcher and Blackbird. It's interesting because the reviews are good, but I feel like a lot of people I've heard actually like talk about it, say that it was like not good at all. So I don't know, but I want to get it. A few other like books I want to read that are kind of like more academic. How to Know a Person, The Art of Seeing Others Deeply and Being Seen by David Brooks. On Goodreads, it has a 4.12 star rating. Also want to read Poverty by America, Desmond Matthew. Evicted, Poverty and Profit in the American City, also by Desmond Matthew. Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Davis. So those are a few of those like sociology books I want to get into. I want to read this little romance book called Better Than the Movies. I also want to get into Emily Henry. I want to read Happy Place and all that type of stuff. The mystery book I was talking about is called First Lie Wins. I want to read that so bad. Honestly, I'll buy it. Another book that I've seen, I believe it's fantasy, is called Lore of the Wilds. It looks good, but I don't know if it's just like a great book or just like, it's okay type of book. And then I see a few romance books that I almost got. Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. I feel like Lynn Painter, the way her covers look, those are like the good romance books when they have like those cheesy covers. And then The Second Chance Year by Melissa Wisner. I have heard The Love Hypothesis is good, but like I don't know, because again I'm not like a real romance girly. Binding 13. Now I did hear that the author was kind of problematic, which is disappointing, but guess what? For Binding 13, we're going to separate the art from the artist. I'm so sorry. I'm #woke, but darn it, I want to read the book. Luca. Now I don't know exactly what Luca's about. I know it's romance, but I don't know if it's like spicy. But it's one of those books that like it has a black person on the cover, and like when you see people on the cover, usually it's bad, but if it's like a black person on the cover, it's a good book. It's a good book. And it's tea. Magnolia Parks. I almost bought the first book a few months ago, but this bookstore I went to, they didn't have it in stock at the time, so but I want to get to the whole series. I don't care. I'm committing. I'm dedicated. And then I want to read this book called Rebecca by Daphne de Meyer. Looks good. It was a recommendation, a book I've never heard of, but I want to get into. Same with The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn. Seems like a good like thriller, kind of playing on mental health a little bit type of book. I want to get into the Fourth Wing and Iron Flame book series, The Empyrean by Rebecca Yarros. I do want to get into The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Also, the other series by Kenny Ryan is All the Kingsmen. So there's the Kingmaker and the Rebel King. I heard that's really good. Again, another thing that's going to make you traumatized. Love that. I want to read Where Sleeping Girls Lie. This is from the same author that made Ace of Spades. And as you guys know, Ace of Spades had no business being that good. 6-star read. I want to read the Part of Your World series by Abby Jimenez. And then when I was at the bookstore, they recommended Akata Witch by, I don't know how to pronounce her name, so I don't want to be disrespectful, but by this beautiful author. So I don't know exactly what that's about, but like, it was recommended to me. I'm going to get into it. Additionally, some historical fiction books I want to get into are The Nickel Boys and The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This is another recommendation from booktubers, but again, I'm kind of worried about reading about Black struggles because that's kind of triggering, but it's also like, a good book is a good book. Okay? I do want to read The Bridge to Terabithia. I feel like I didn't know it was a book. I don't know. But it's interesting. I want to see how it differs from the movie. Obviously, it was good enough to be made into a movie. I want to read Funny Story by Emily Henry. I did have that book as a library book a few months ago, but I didn't get a chance to read it, so I want to get into it now. A book that I saw recommended by a booktuber I watched is called 28 Summers by Ellen Hildebrandt, and apparently Ellen Hildebrandt is just a good writer, so if I like 28 Summers, I want to get into her other writing as well. I want to read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Everyone talks about that, so I trust that it's pretty good. Then again, I have a whole bunch of books that I got from the library, and then Book of the Month. I finally want to read Lessons in Chemistry. That's another book I had, but I didn't get a chance to read it. And then I want to get into Stephen King. I want to get into, oh my god, I cannot think of that man's name. I do want to read some James Patterson. Like, I've always heard of them, but I've never read anything by them. And those are the main books that I have saved to my Goodreads. So with all that being said, here's what I'm actually going to read for January specifically. So for January, I am definitely going to read Hunger Games. I'm going to read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm going to read the Five Nights at Freddy's series. I may get into Hunger Games if I have time. I'm going to read Atomic Habits. I'm going to read Da Vinci Code. I'm going to read these 3 books that I got from the library. So this one's called In a True Light. This one is Between Georgia, and this one is Loving Frank. I think I'm going to go ahead and read some of these books right here. So Happiness Project, Saying Unburied Saying, First to Lie, and then these Kroger books, The Boring Sacrifice, Daylight, Identity. And I think that may be all I'm going to read for January, unless I have any books from the library. Then I don't know what digital reads I'm going to get into, but that's really all. But with that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing year reading, and I hope that if you are not a reader, get into reading. Reading is so fun. It's so amazing. Even if you only have one book and you read like 10 pages of that book a month, 10 pages is better than no pages. So I wish you guys the best with your reading journey. If you guys have any fun reads that you recommend, I'd love to hear it. I will be a little bit more active on all my other social medias. So if you guys want to see what I'm reading for the week or whatever, you guys can follow me on my other socials. I would love that support. And with that being said, thank you guys. And I cannot wait for 2025. I wish you guys the best with your reading goals, your reading journey, and whatever. Let's be geeked out for books for another year. But with that being said, you guys have an amazing day. Bye.